video, we're going to be discussing screaming, and I am talking about when your kid is screaming at the top of their lungs in the middle of a store because you didn't let them have that candy, or maybe they're screaming at a teacher, a sibling, a friend, or quite frankly, again at you at home because maybe you denied them a toy, or they're screaming at you because you just asked them a question. By the end of today's video, you are going to have a scientific-based approach to address that behavior, but don't let that freak you out. I swear it's going to be user-friendly. So let's get started. Welcome back. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Alicia Tomowski, and this is my channel, The Parent Brain Ball Game. Because let's be honest, guys, sometimes this parent brain, it is just not all that intuitive. And you have to play ball with your kids, both figuratively and literally, to get that job done. Here, my passion is to provide you with parenting tools, not tips, tricks, or hacks, but parenting tools of an applied behavior analysis foundation, and I like to think that I make it pretty user-friendly. Now, I want to set you guys up for success. I like to make these videos rather short because I need to speak quick and precise. The odds are, as you're a caregiver and you have a short amount of time that you're working with anyways, so I need to drop that knowledge as quickly as possible. So go get yourself a notebook because here we go. Every parent has experienced a situation when their child is just screaming, whether it's at them, at a sibling, at a friend, at a teacher, and if they tell you otherwise, they're lying to you. You want to know why? Because our children are just learning how to engage and interact with their environment. They don't have a filter. We are there to encourage that filter. We are there to encourage appropriate ways to get what they want from their environment or us. So let's first address what age group is this video going to be most appropriate for. I'm going to say from you're about 14 months and over, I'm going to need you to stick with me. Then let's move on to the functions and or the why our child is engaging in the screaming in this case. If you've been following me, you know that there are 4 primary functions or 4 reasons why our children are engaging in that behavior. First, if our child is trying to gain sensory. So if our kiddo is trying to get a sensory input from screaming, what we want to do is we essentially want to find alternative ways to get that sensory input outside of screaming at inappropriate times. Now let's move on to if your child is engaging in screaming to escape or avoid a demand that you just placed on them, what you want to do is you want to focus and you want to watch this video to see how we first address that initial presence of screaming, and then you want to jump over to my overcorrection video. And finally, if your child or if you think that your child is engaging in screaming to gain attention and or you just deny them access to a toy, we're going to keep going with this. Most likely, your first response when your kiddo is screaming at you is stop screaming at you, or you're screaming back in their face and saying, don't do that, and that's not nice. Your background noise at that point. Your child can't hear you. You want to know what that's equivalent to? That's equivalent to when I am like raging and my husband is telling me to calm down. Son, that ain't gonna get you nowhere, okay? And that is the same thing with your child. That is not going to get you anywhere. Additionally, all the words that are coming out of your mouth are don't, can't, I don't do this. You're telling them all of these things that they can't do. So all they're hearing is, okay, well, I can't scream louder than you. I can't scream at my friend when they're not doing something. You're not giving them something that they can do. Now, before we discuss about our reactive strategies, we need to discuss our proactive strategies because we know that there are 2 components to our successful parenting strategies, right? Proactive means preventative. What do I do to prevent the behavior from happening in the first place? Reactive strategies, what do I do? Womp, 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 once the behavior has already happened, right? So let's revisit our functions of behavior. If you think that your child is engaging in screaming due to sensory input, what we need to do, as I stated previously, is you need to find alternative ways that your kid's getting that input. Whether they need to go outside screaming, or whether they are screaming into a tuba, or whether you get one of those little toilet paper rolls and they're screaming quiet, screaming loud, and you're making a game out of it during a certain time period, that's what we need to do outside of screaming at me when you want something. Now, if your kiddo is experiencing or engaging in screaming, I should say, if your kiddo is engaging in screaming to get your attention, what we need to work on is flooding our kiddo with attention at other parts of the day. Or maybe we're not that great at dividing our attention and our kiddo has a really hard time when I get on the phone or when I'm talking to grandma. So what we need to do is we need to prep our child. That means, hey, I'm about to get on the phone for 5 minutes. Do you need something from me right now? Or I'm about to go talk to grandma. Is there something that you want me to do with you before I talk to grandma? And in that meantime, what you're gonna do is you're gonna set up an activity that is going to last long enough to give you that opportunity in which your child doesn't seem to get that divided attention from you, okay? So you're gonna give them an activity that lasts long enough for that. Now, if your child is engaging in screaming because you just denied them access to a tangible, or maybe you just took away a toy from them, what we wanna do is hopefully what we're going to be doing is we're gonna prepare our child. So it's gonna be a lot of, hey, you know what? I'm gonna do one more roll, and then we're gonna have to go. Or hey, you're gonna push that car one more time and then you gotta give it to mommy, or you gotta put it away. Or hey, I'm gonna start this timer, auditory timer, visual timer, based on your child's developmental age. It's gonna be, I'm gonna start this timer and then it's gonna go bye-bye, or it's gonna be all done because it's gonna be time for X, Y, and Z. It's a lot of preparing our child, because realistically, we as adults, or we as parents, just in general as adults, we kind of know what to anticipate in our day-to-day. Our kids don't. So if we do a lot of just snatching stuff from them, or it's time for dinner, it's time to go, even if you're preparing dinner, your kid doesn't know what is going on. So you need to prepare your child for that. Now, if your child is engaging in screaming because you just placed a demand on them, what you need to do is you need to do a lot of praising on those little demands, okay? Again, that's why I said you need to go look at my overcorrection video. We need to place reinforcement, or we need to place praise-specific reinforcement on those little demands that I place on my child. The little pick up your toy, the little come here. It's, oh my God, great job listening. I really liked how you listened to daddy this time. I really liked how you weren't screaming. I really liked how you were using such a quiet voice. Again, what we need to do is we need to kind of amp up our proactive strategies before we do the reactive strategies. What you're essentially doing is you're taking away your child's only known form of communication. And I say known because your child is engaging in that way of communicating with you, screaming at this point, because it has gotten what they want at some point in their life. That's what we call intermittent reinforcement. That is the most powerful form of reinforcement. What I need you to think about it as is your child is sitting at a slot machine and they're just pulling that lever. They're hoping one day they're going to win the big money, because you know what? 20 pulls before, 10 pulls before, they got what they wanted. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that that screaming at no point, whether it's with me or with mom or with dad, they're not going to get whatever it is that they're trying to communicate, because that's not the appropriate way to engage with other people, right? So how do we fix that? What we want to do is we want to use words like, I can't hear you how you're talking to me right now. I don't know what you're trying to say to me. I don't know what you want from me. That way, we're indicating to our child that that form of communication is ineffective. You're not going to get what you want. And then we're going to do something called planned ignoring. Now, yes, what that essentially means is you're removing all forms of attention. I am talking about eye contact. I am talking about that sighing, that grunting, that body posture. Everything is removed from your child. Now, most parents don't seem to realize that even when you're looking at your kid and you're giving them that mom eye and you're like, you better get it right because this is what's happening right now. That's attention, because you want to know what? I'm not paying attention to anything else around me but that child. And even that, when you get that dad grunt and you're like, or that dad growl and you're like, son, same thing. I'm not paying attention to anything else but you. You have what you want from me. What we want to do is we want to remove all of that. And I know that sounds so easy, but I'm going to be very frank and quite honest with you. This is a very difficult tactic for most parents, because this means your entire body is turned from your child, but you're still in the presence to make sure that they're safe. Now, once you do planned ignoring, this behavior is going to get ugly. And when I say ugly, I mean it is going to get louder. It is going to get bigger. It is going to get messier. Why? Because of that intermittent reinforcement. Your child received reinforcement from screaming before. They have no idea why they're not getting it right now. They have no idea why your back is turned towards them. They're going to be like, oh yeah, let me up this ante, okay? And that's what they're going to do. And that's what most parents find so difficult, because it's basically a battle of the wits, okay? We need to outlast our children at this point. If, however, your child was engaging in screaming, and let's address them one by one to gain attention from you, what we're going to do is now we're going to turn our attention, which physically means our entire body, because remember, attention is that body posture. It is eye contact. It is that mom look. It is sighing. It is grunting. So now I'm going to turn my attention back to my child, and I'm going to use language that is best suited for your age group. For your younger children, don't be as verbose. For your older children, use as much language as you think is necessary. For me, I'm going to meet you guys in the middle, and I'm going to say, I can't hear you when you say that. I have no idea what you just said. What do you want from mommy? And then you're going to kind of wait. Okay? And then you're going to see what their response was. I'm not going to give them attention. I'm not going to give them what they want immediately. I'm then going to say, thank you. We're going to practice that again. And you're going to ask for X, Y, and Z, whatever it is what they wanted from you. Whether they wanted you to color with them. Whether they wanted you to look at the animals that they were doing. You're going to wait, like I said, 15, 30 seconds, and you're going to come back again and say, okay, with a calm voice, tell mommy what you wanted. Tell daddy what you wanted, okay? You're then going to provide that praise-specific reinforcement and say, you know what? That was beautiful, okay? I heard you. I know what you wanted. I had no idea what you were saying before. And then give them what they wanted. Now, if your child was screaming onto the next function of behavior, if your child was screaming because you just denied them access to a tangible or I just took a tangible away. Now, mind you, this is if you used those proactive strategies that we discussed earlier. What you are going to do is you're going to hand over hand it, because essentially they got to complete the task. You are denying access to that tangible, or you're removing the tangible, you're removing the toy for a reason. It's whether it is you can't play with a knife, or it's we needed to put away the toy because it's time to go for dinner, or we needed to do this because it's time to go for bath, or something like that. What you want to do is you're then going to do hand over hand. Hand over hand, because your child's body has to complete the task. You don't want to put all the toys away. You don't want to take the knife and put it away. Here's hoping your kid doesn't have a knife. Okay, that's the only thing that I could think of right off the bat. So what you want to do is you're going to hand over hand make your child do and comply with the request that you previously just made. If you do it yourself, your kid essentially didn't have to do it. They ended up screaming and I got out of the task. Or I ended up screaming at you, you removed something from me, and now the moment is over. No. You don't want them to scream. It's also the point that it's like, well, I now need you to understand that when mommy asks you to do something, you need to do it. We can talk about it. You can tell me you didn't like to do it. You can tell me how you're mad about it, but we still need to do it, and then we can negotiate later. And that wraps it up for me today, guys. So if you found value in today's video, don't forget to hit subscribe and that little bell icon so you know when future trainings or future videos are happening. And please comment below on maybe other topics that you would like for me to cover. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.